The Lightning Fast Fantasy Football Podcast, sponsored by the Lockdown Defense Network, is our weekly show that is dedicated to giving our fan base our educated opinions on the best fantasy football strategy in standard leagues, PPR, and dynasty leagues. We are not guaranteeing you will win anything by our advice, but if you do, we want our cut. Enjoy the show.
Everybody got that? Good.
To all my heavy hitters and lockdown defenders, welcome to the Lightning Fast Fantasy Football Podcast. I'm your host, Coach Divas, alongside the Real AG, Alex Givens. We call him the Real AG because the picks are all good. Week 18 is in the building, man, and we got a lot to get through in this show. We're back on our normal night, 9:30 Standard Time, Wednesday nights throughout the NFL season, man, and we're rocking and rolling. It is the finale show for the regular season, man, and it's gonna be a blast. It's going to be a blast. We have wrapped up our fantasy football league. We have crowned a champion. We're going to bring him on so he can give his acceptance speech. We're going to get through our normal performance. We're going to give out some awards this week as well. Or who was the best performers of fantasy football or who was the absolute worst. So we got a lot to get through, man. Alex Givens, good brother, what is going on? Happy New Year.
Yes, sir.
It's
2025, my brother. Yeah.
How you feeling? What's going on out there?
Man, I'm doing good, Coach. It's a bittersweet moment. You know, for this being the finale. It was a great year. Love doing the show with you. Looking forward to next year. You know, myself personally, only got one championship. It wasn't even in our league, Avi, as we saw my progression with that ass team throughout this year. But you know, won pretty decisively, 160 to 103, just a straight meat drop on that fool. Then lost one, you know, 110 to 112. It would have been my back-to-back championship run in my dynasty league. So that was a little bit of a heartbreaker, but you know, nonetheless, ready to celebrate our champion of the Lightning Fast Fantasy Football Show and give out some of our awards and just, you know, recap this year with you, man.
Okay. Good stuff, man. Good stuff, man. As he alluded to, and as we do ceremoniously throughout the show, at the beginning of the show, we give our kudos and our props to our fantasy football league that we run through the podcast. So the Lightning Fast Fantasy Football Weekly is always the opening part of the show. So we like to break down everything that goes on with the league. We've been doing it all week, every week, all start of the season. So we have culminated and got to the crux of the league, and we've crowned a champion. So before we get to that, we're gonna give you the results of everything that happened throughout the playoffs. So you know, as ceremoniously like Sleeper likes to do, they give out the best, and the brightest, and the worst awards. So as you can see on the screen, if you watch this on YouTube, it's some toilet bowl awards they gave out. You know, I'm not gonna give too much browbeating here because once you're out of the playoffs, guys kind of typically don't set their lineup, so it just kind of fell in where it fell in. But yeah, so yeah, guys, the likes of I got 5, Robert, Cool Kev, Cody, you know, even our illustrious co-host Alex was in this bowl, and you know, it was interesting. It was interesting, you know. I think Alex was celebrating the fact that he wasn't going to finish last week, and that's what he did. He got through.
Sir.
Are you 3-0 against Robert this year? Am I did I get that right?
Yeah, I should have changed my team name to I Am Robert's Father.
Oh,
God. I changed it to Zero Dark 30 since
right.
Brock really deuced on me this year.
He definitely did. He definitely did. He had no love for you or your fantasy team
Nope.
at all. But yet him and Robert and actually Cool Cav, who was a friend of the show as well, ended up in the toilet bowl, and I think they gave the crown to Cool Cav. So it was rough for him. He was literally one game off the playoffs and ended up in the toilet bowl to win it. That's crazy.
And he made that crazy. Didn't him and Robert make that crazy like 7-player
did.
trade?
They did.
And look at them now.
Look at
Both
me
of
now.
them in the toilet bowl, man. For the Sacco.
The Sacco, yes, the poo emoji bowl. Yes, indeed. So yeah, so that was the rough end of it, and here's the better end of the bracket. I got D-Zed, was the number 1 seed. He had a bye. I went against Keith, got walloped by 157 to 103. I got Josh had a bye as well, and Coach Mike Dub and D-Bev squared off. Mike Dub got the victory. He advanced, and he faced Josh. D-Zed faced Keith. It was a nice decisive victory on both sides in the semifinals, like I say, between Mike Dub and D-Zed.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, so they pretty, wasn't too much to be, harping and sweating about in that semifinal round. And then we got to the championship, and boy, oh boy. And it was funny because I think Mike Dub got out to an early lead because he had Mahomes and guys early. And D-Zed was like, I don't know. Yeah, right. come Saturday and Sunday, he definitely said, hold my beer. Because we got a 156-48 to 94 victory. That is definitely a walk-off. That is definitely a walk-off. So
to be one of the most comfortable playoff runs there.
Oh,
See your team score 155 and you're bye. You're like, I'm good.
That brother was 10 toes up relaxing by Sunday night. I am sure of that. I am sure of that. He wasn't sweating it out on Monday night at all. At all. So with that being said, we got a new champion. And we got a quick bonus here for the chat here because as we like to do, to show love and give love about guys that come through. We got our guy here, in backstage ready to come on. So we're gonna bring on our guy. The champ. The champ is in the building. The champ is here. There
What
you
up,
go.
guys?
What's happening, good brother? How you feeling?
Dude, I'm elated, man. This was probably my best fantasy year in almost 12 years.
Nice.
This was my best year by far, and unfortunately, I had to take it out on you guys. Unfortunately,
you're not worthy.
Exactly.
I took it out on you guys, man. And I would say I feel bad, but I don't.
That's your right.
Yeah, I was in 4 leagues this year. Look, man, I get it. Fantasy, it's fun, right? But people put in time in it, and I put in time into fantasy.
Absolutely.
I support the Lightning Fast Fantasy Football Show, like all of you guys should. And I'm also on podcast. I'm also listening to other podcasts, other fantasy shows out there. I'm not going to give them plugs because look, I don't get anything for it, so screw them.
My God.
But and I'm constantly looking at rankings. I'm watching games, and I appreciate fantasy. It's cool because it's made me appreciate football in a different light. Instead of just, I remember growing up, man, I'd only focus on the Chargers, and that's it. Now I'm watching every team, every player. I'm checking them out. I'm seeing how they're playing, what's offense they're running in, injuries and schemes and opponents and whatnot. And I did something different this year. I came into this season I wanted 3 players in my leagues. And I drafted my home league way earlier before I drafted with the Lightning Fast and other leagues. But I came in the season, I was like looking at stats and I was looking at these up and coming players, and I wanted 3 players, and I got them all, almost all in all my leagues, all 4 leagues. It was Trey McBride at tight end.
Mm-hmm.
It was Jaden Daniels at QB, and it was Jahmyr Gibbs.
Hello.
And I
went
after those guys like nobody's business. I wanted them so bad, and I didn't get Jaden in all my leagues, but and I got Gibbs in 3 and I got Trey in in 4.
Nice.
And Gibbs, I believe he was the only player in fantasy this year to score 10 points or more in every game.
That's a winner. That's a winner right there.
And and I just there was something about it because I don't think anybody was like, oh, McBride's gonna be the number 1, or Gibbs is gonna be the number 1 running back, or Jaden. There's a possibility as a rookie he could have been the number 1 QB throughout the season, but nobody would have known, right? He's a rookie,
Right.
and in our league, I believe I had him with Burrow.
Yeah.
Not sure. I don't remember. But those are the players I went with, and I won our championship. I won in another league. I won a championship with those guys. Unfortunately, in my home league, I finished 5th place because I got cute with my lineup in the playoffs, and I lost because of that. And off the top of my head, I can't remember who I switched out. I switched out like a couple players, and it was a stupid decision, knocked me out. And then in another league, get this. This is why in this other league, I don't know if I'm playing next year if this guy doesn't fix this, but we switched. This was my second year in that league, and we switched from Sleeper to NFL app, and we did it. And we're like a few weeks in, and everybody's playing. Everybody's doing good, and the scoring is a lot of bonus scoring, which is fun. So it's like super high scores, but started noticing I'm like the playoffs only 4. It was a 10-man league. Only the top 4 were getting in the playoffs in this league. Yeah, so
that's booty, son.
I would have been in the playoffs in this league. Now I finished 5th in that. I finished 5th in that league, but I wasn't in the playoffs.
Right.
So I was in a consolation game in 2 weeks.
Damn.
But I would have been in the playoffs. Unfortunately, I wouldn't have won that league because I did check the scores. But it was still at the point where I'm like, I don't know.
I mean, anything is possible if you had the season change from the get-go. So
there you go. So there's that possibility as well. Yeah.
Right.
But yeah, man, this was my best year, and I mean, look, there's a lot of luck involved, right? We all know that. There's a lot of luck involved with these guys, but I'm stoked. I'm happy.
Hey, but you knew which guys you wanted. You got them.
And they did all 3 of them. All 3 of them.
And I wish
all 3 of those guys were top 5 in their position categories in fantasy football this year. So yeah.
And I wish I knew where I was getting a lot of this from, because usually, and this is gonna kind of sound stupid, but right before like the season starts, everybody's starting to get their bearings right with fantasy players and where to go. And I've got a decent sized yard. I got like 2 acres of grass I got to mow and weed whack and all that stuff. So I got the earbuds on and I'm out there it's hot. I'm just like listening to these nonstop, these podcast guys like, oh, you should draft this guy. But I forgot, it was like somebody was like McBride, Gibbs, like they kept those stuck into my head, and I started looking at their stats. I started looking at like what situations they're coming into this year, and boy, did it pay off. I mean, yeah. But I'm glad you guys put on a league. It was fun. Kind of like I know you guys, and I know Robert, and I know Kurt also. A couple other guys that I think Cool Kev pops in on some of the shows and stuff as well. So Michael, I felt bad for my opponent, and
I felt bad. Told me that. Yeah.
I felt bad for him. He lost CD. He lost Chuba. I had Chuba in another league. Chuba's a dog, man. He was a dog this season, dude. Especially on that Carolina whack ass team.
Right.
But him and Bryce Young really turned it on with Adam Thielen. But I felt bad for him. He lost some guys. He had to put in some no-namers, some fill-ins, and but what is what it is, man. Like it's a dog-eat-dog world. So
unfortunately, it is, man. Unfortunately, it is. You can't cry over spilled milk. Some you win, some you lose, some.
Yeah, man.
You take that champion title, and you own it.
What's just crazy is I was coming into playoffs. I think I had back-to-back losses. I had back-to-back losses. I was getting nervous. I was like, "Whoa!"
But everybody else kept losing behind you, so you kept the 1 seed. So that helped you out. Yeah.
I think that like the strong team performance kept that 1 seed, which had to have some help as well. And I didn't check the buy, but you know how you guys are playing. And another person I feel bad for is Coach Defense. That whole little PF, man, his PF in
Yeah.
the league
He
is
was
that's got
cooking.
yeah,
And it was
he
like
was
that most of the
cooking.
year too. But everybody played all world against me when they faced me, so my record it wasn't indicative of my points for. That's for sure.
Yeah.
That's for
I've been
sure.
there before, but this is definitely my best year in a long time. So I'm stoked. I'm glad you guys put this league on. I hope it continues. And look, I got the ceremonial, the Shivas in my head, right? I got the light and fast Shiva. It's in my head. So I'm stoked on it. And yeah, man, I'm appreciative. And I
Yeah.
showing you guys support. I hope the show grows too. And
Yeah,
We'll
we're slowly but surely building, man. We definitely got our viewership's going up
Yes, sir.
each and every week, so we're definitely happy about that. And we appreciated you as always being a day one.
Yeah,
For
man.
all the podcasts we've been on, you've been riding with us, man. And we
OG.
appreciate
Yes,
it.
sir.
OG,
OG, dog.
Day one. He's
Day
our
one.
day one. He's
It's right
definitely our
there.
day one. We appreciate
Go
the
T
support, man.
gang. Go
Yeah.
T gang.
Goatee gang, don't forget it. Don't forget it. And
Yeah.
loud and proud. We're the goatee gang for sure.
Yeah, man. Yeah,
Loud
man.
and proud. So listen, man, congratulations. We appreciate you hanging with us, riding with us this whole entire journey, man.
Yes, sir.
We're just getting started. We got a lot of things planned for 2025. The league will be back in the summer, so we're gonna jump that off, and we got a nice little surprise for you as a reward for being the champion of the inaugural league. So we'll get with you backstage on that. But
So I'm sure you guys are probably gonna like take a break, but then you guys think you're gonna kick the show back off, like to gear people back up. Like
yeah,
this-
we're going to discuss, but I think round about draft time when things rosters start to get settled,
yeah,
that's when we're going to start
Cool.
dropping little teasers and little
Yeah.
nuggets and things of that nature. That's going to get people ready for what's the fantasy football, what's to come for fantasy football.
I
Yeah,
think it's good in the fantasy world
Mhm.
that there's a lot of flavors out there, if that
Yeah.
makes sense. Like Baskin
Yeah.
Robbins,
yeah,
because there's a lot of you have your big shows like the Fantasy Footballers, CBS. There's the NBC one, there's NFL one, and a lot of those guys they'll do consensus stuff, right?
Mhm.
And then they'll have their guys, right? And you can pick and choose. But I think sometimes like having flavors, like man, let's see what these guys have to say. Let's see what these guys have to say with this week, and then let's see what these guys. And then if you guys like, which I think is good, like if you guys say you hit it on some dudes, right? Like the week before, you and Alex hit it off some cats, right? Like boom, this dude, that catches on, that catches fire. Like
Mhm.
that's the thing. Like it's
Yes,
sure there's
sir.
some luck in that, right?
a little
But,
bit, a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, but that's how these guys get this stuff. Other than the fact that you got these major things behind them, but I like these. I like the smaller shows. I like this kind of stuff. I like this flavor. I like this. You guys are able to interact with the chat. Like dudes, when you guys throughout the season, guys would show up, not even say, "Hey, how's it going?" or "Appreciate the show." They're like, "What do I do?
Right.
Who do I pick? Who do
Right.
I play?" And they're naming off 17 guys, their whole bench, and you guys are like, "Okay, we'll just stop the show and we'll answer this dude." Now I hope you guys grow to the point where you guys can't do that, and you
True.
guys are like,
True.
you're like,
be
"Hey
cool.
man, there's this little pay me tag up here. Maybe
Right,
a couple
yeah,
bucks."
Right,
You
right.
gotta subscribe
Yeah.
to the Coach Plus.
Now,
Exactly.
I-
Hit the mailbag. You got to hit the mailbag.
Yeah. Eventually, I hope it gets to that point. But
Mm.
I thought it was cool, and I don't know. You're a fellow Charger fan, and then Alex, as being our arch enemy, is probably one of the coolest Chiefs fans that I've ever met.
Best I've ever met.
You know what I mean? Like,
I appreciate that.
so yeah, dude, I'm stoked, and I'm glad I won. And look, it's all luck, but look, I put my time in it, right? I put some
I mean,
time
yeah,
into
you
it.
definitely
so-
want to, take your victory lap for things that you work hard for, man. It
One
doesn't
thing I
matter
get
if you-
upset about, look, and I'll get off to let you guys do your show, but one thing I kind of get upset with in leagues, it's a huge pet peeve of mine, and I get it. This is like a little fun thing that we do on the side,
Mhm.
is when people like just abandon the rosters or they're not active anymore.
Oh yeah, that
Something.
burns me up. Yeah,
It's a huge pet peeve of
Yeah.
mine in my leagues, and every year there's always one or two that does it, and I think for the most part, this league was everybody stayed pretty active.
Oh, everybody was
Very
locked in the whole
competitive, man.
entire time.
Like,
Very competitive.
I mean, even Kurt, man, making moves left and right, like you know what I mean,
Absolutely.
waiver off and on, and his team
Upsetting
wasn't.
people when he wasn't supposed to beat. Yeah, he was.
Yeah,
was-
man. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's good. That's good. That
Even if you
everybody-
drafted 3 defenses.
Right.
Hey,
Dude,
when
Right.
people don't forget, all right?
Right.
yeah, man.
Yeah.
But look, I'll tell you this: like, I didn't in our league, I didn't have good wide receivers or any alphas. I did have Drake London and Laddie. We like to party.
That's it.
He
The
did me
DD.
right.
The
He
DD.
did me right in the last game, the championship game. 2
Yeah, he came through.
tutties, like,
Yeah.
dude, he came through. It was phenomenal.
He-
And then I didn't even have to do anything with Gibbs on that money, like you were saying. Like, I was just like, whatever, dude. Like,
I
go
see
off.
that nice plush couch he's sitting on right now. He had his
Yeah.
feet up on Sunday night. He was good to go.
Dude, I was just chilling, man. I'm like, oh my god,
Wiggling
this
his
is...
toes. I'm good to go.
I felt bad. I was like, man, no one's saying anything. They're all butthurt, pissed off. And look, I'd be the same too.
Right.
In my home league, I was like, oh, I'm out. Yeah, click. See you guys later, man. They're all there. Yeah, bye.
Right.
Peace. See you next year.
Right.
But yeah.
Yeah.
All right, man. I appreciate it all.
Not a problem.
Yeah,
Not a
man.
problem.
Congrats,
Like I said,
brother.
Absolutely, man. Like I said, we got a prize for you. We'll get you backstage on that and get you that to you. But we definitely appreciate you locking in with us and holding us down. And more things, the big things to come, man, going forward.
Salute.
All right, good brother. We appreciate you, man. We'll see you down the road.
Yes, sir.
All right. That is I got these there. One more time for him.
The champ.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. So yeah, man. So like I said, he is the champ of the league. You know, so we give him a quick more shout out with his trophy. You know, so we got a nice prize for him for him winning the inaugural league, and we're all gonna get to him real soon. But like I said, this is gonna be the first year of the league. It's gonna continue on. We're gonna have hopefully we have all the guys back. If not, we'll be looking and advertise openings. But it definitely is a competitive league, like DZ said, and we definitely like the fact that people are engaged all season. They didn't leave their teams, they were losing. They definitely locked in the whole year. We appreciate their involvement and engagement, and it's the only thing. Everything's up from here, man. It's definitely gonna be good going forward. All right, man. So now let's jump into the show, man. Let's talk about the our first normal segment of the show, our best performance. So week 17 was the championship week for most people. So we got should be. If you listen, we said it backstage. If you got a week league and you play the championship week 18, we're out.
Yeah,
we're out. I can't do
quitting.
it. Yeah,
quitting
all the people sitting, in week 18, can't do it. But if you happen to be in that situation, you listen to the pod, please drop your questions. We're here for you. We are here for you for advice. But most leagues don't end under the last week of the season, with the end of the second to last week. So with that being said, hopefully that you will be mindful of the fact that the guys are going to be sitting and guys are going to be resting starters. So there's that part. But getting into week 17, who shined bright this week and probably won somebody some money in certain aspects of certain leagues, right? Starting with the quarterbacks, you got Joe Burrow with 37 points. He lit up the skies, in his game. 37 points in his matchup. Yeah, Baker Mayfield, 34.6. I think he had 5 tuds in his matchup. That was wild. And then a name that's normally on our worst performance list, I got Drew Lock. I got Drew Lock, 34.4. The Giants playing like they're playing for a playoff spot, winning it in over the weekend against the Colts. So yeah, it was definitely interesting. So you got Joe Burrow, Baker Mayfield, and Drew Lock coming through. And if you had Baker Mayfield or Joe Burrow, I doubt anybody had Drew Lock. I doubt they'll hide. I like to believe that you
were playing in the toilet bowl and just said F it.
Exactly. Just trying to stay out of the sacko. That's the only thing I can think of. But yeah, so then running backs here, Jonathan Taylor with 2 good weeks, 2 great performances. I mean, you ridicule the man for fumbling, and then he just goes bananas.
Totally redeems himself.
Exactly. So yeah, you got Jonathan Taylor with 26.6, a repeat performer. DZ's guy, Jahmyr Gibbs, 24.3, and Derrick Henry still riding high at 23.5. So he's rocking and rolling. And so those are your 3 running backs. So Alex, what do receivers look like?
Yes, sir. Yeah, I mean, receivers is kind of I feel like we see this little connection every week. Usually it's someone tied to the top dog at QB.
Yes,
look no further. Number 1 on the list here with T. Higgins, 34.6. Malik, hadn't really done much in terms of these big outings all year, and then comes out and scores what two touchdowns?
At least 2. That's also
Yeah,
I know I saw
32.6 regard. Yeah, I mean,
That's right.
ridiculous.
Yeah.
Then Devontae Smith with 27. So yeah, I mean, pretty good outings, in week 17 for the receivers. I did want to note, as I get into the tight ends here, DZ's other boy talked about a QB would have been 4 on this list. So,
True.
I don't think it's high. The 3 guys he highlighted balled out in championship weekend. But yeah, so with the tight ends, Trey McBride, 24.3, Zach Ertz getting himself paid in that game with 22.2. I think
750.
yeah, it was. Yeah, I mean, he was playing for some cheddar. Let's put it that way. And Travis Kelce was nice to see, as my Chiefs fan in me says, with 18.4, but good to see, a little bit more of a vintage Kelce performance from him. And then, defensively, we had some pretty good, probably some league winners for you if you were streaming some of these guys or are just rolling with them throughout the year. But we had, Eagles with 19. Ravens with 17, which is a little bit crazy, honestly, considering
out of the
who they were playing and the fact that they only gave up a safety, is ridiculous.
Right.
And the Seahawks was 16. So, all around crazy performances for championship weekend.
Absolutely. And I want to caveat a couple of things because I think Trey McBride finally got his first touchdown of the year this past week, right? He been scoring high from a PPR in receiving perspective, but he hadn't caught any touchdowns. I think he got his first touchdown finally after Kyler Murray was a week late on the call. I think he said he's guaranteed him to get him one last week, didn't get him one, and then he finally got him one this week. So that was interesting. And I also want to say that your boy Coach Defense made a comment on the pod 2 weeks ago when I said that people are going to start to roll coverage towards Jamar Chase, start doubling him and starting to take him away from Joe Burrow, and which is going to open up T. Higgins' ability to perform. And 2 weeks in a row, he's been on the list.
Yeah.
So to DZ's point, we have some jewels and some nuggets for you guys that we drop. If you're paying attention, that will get you your fantasy gold that you must solely need. So we're just letting you know, a little toot of our own horn there.
Yeah.
A little bit.
Just saying.
So to round out the best performance list, the kickers, we got Cameron the Dicker kicker with 17 points in a drubbing of the Patriots over the weekend. Daniel Carlson coming through with 15, and you got Chauncey McLaughlin with 12. So yeah, so if you had any of these guys on your fantasy roster or multiples in DZ's case, because I think he had Joe Burrow and Jahmyr Gibbs on his list, he got a nice glowing and walk away victory where it was nice and comfortable, and you have to worry about sweating it out on Monday night. Indeed, but to some people that go to spoils and some people just get boils. So if you had the guys that we're going to talk about next that just make you look bad every week, and this was the worst week they could probably make you look bad in championship week. If you had any of these guys, we'll feel sorry for you. We apologize for them in advance. But some guys just make you want to say,
"You're killing me, Smalls."
You're killing me, Smalls. So yeah, guys that did horrible this week in a lot of negative fashions, a lot of negative points going on here this week. I don't know what the problem is, but a lot of household names on here that didn't do well. So quarterbacks named the starters, Aaron Rodgers, 2.5 points in a terrible performance. CJ Stroud on this list, when again, to the Baltimore Ravens defense credit, he would look like trash at 7.1. Caleb Williams came through with 7.5. So the second-year phenom and the first-year phenom are both struggling on the naughty list this week, so that was bad. Running backs, we have Ramondre Stevenson with 0.1. We're dynamic with that because they said that Gibson was going to start, and then
he started him.
And he started Stevenson anyway, so Gibson barely played, but clearly nobody ran the ball because he didn't have any good runs, neither did Gibson. So I don't know what's going on in New England. Isaiah Pacheco, a repeat offender on the list, but he got hurt, I believe, didn't he?
Yeah, a little banged up.
So 1.8 for him in back-to-back low performance weeks. And then Joe Mixon got completely shut down by the Ravens defense in 4.9. So yeah, so if you had any of those 6 guys, we feel sorry for you because typically I would like to argue that most of these guys on this list, I think all of them normally would be people that you would normally play in a week-to-week fashion. So just unfortunately they did bad on the championship weekend.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Really
but
laid that egg.
really. But give us the bad news on the wide receivers, Alex. Tell us
Yeah,
what's going
man. Kind of just the same flavors as you described. Two of the guys on the wide receiver list, I think, is a little more anticipated they do bad. But number one on this list, scary T man. I know he did some people dirty
on. Oh
in
man.
their championships, getting 1 point in that game when he's been a
Tight.
pretty
Oh,
key
tight.
fantasy asset up to this point. So, that was a little disheartening, I'm sure, for people with the why. I know I saw the memes going crazy on X
Oh
with,
yeah.
with with bagging on him a little bit with the 1 point. Jaden Reed, back to it,
Yeah.
Jaden Reed self, I suppose, with the
I guess.
1.1.
I
Um,
guess.
yeah, I mean that was they just kind of looked bad all around
They did.
in that
They
game.
did.
And
They
then
didn't start playing to the end, and then most of the yards went to
too late.
Jacobs, and then it's too late. Yeah.
Yeah, and then Cooper Cup, back again,
Oh,
3.4. So,
yeah.
I think the time of Cooper Cup being early fantasy target and drafts has probably come to an end.
Yeah, we got to discuss that one because I don't want to call them washed, but
I
it's
don't
still
know,
looking
man.
good.
It's
Still
tough.
looking good.
It's
Yeah.
tough. Yeah. The down to the tight ends. Yeah, Hunter Henry laying a flat goose egg. After being a top performer at multiple points throughout the year, but
Yeah.
very streaky with his chart week in and week out.
Yes.
Jake Ferguson with 1.3 and probably has to be anticipated with just the ass performance that was the Houston Texas on Christmas. Dalton Schultz with 3.1. Not good performances all around, especially for the Texans with three of their guys being on this naughty list.
Right.
And then down to the defense, man. The one day I like the emoji choice with it. The Colts -4 against the damn New York Giants, man. It's supposed to be the most primo streaming defensive matchup of Week 17. Is you saw the Atlanta Falcons defense the week before get 27 points. And what do the Colts do? They say, hold my beer, man. Watch us. Watch this.
Right,
We're going to make Drew Lock look like, I don't even know, look like Mahomes. Look like, Peyton Manning carving us up for -4. Steelers, I think, you got to give it. They were playing the Chiefs, but I think, -1 was certainly not
that defense
anticipated.
Yeah, for that defense is bad. Yeah.
And same with the Saints playing the Raiders offense. Even if they are banged up, just ass Saints. -3, tough outing.
Bad building. Terrible. And
Terrible.
in the likelihood of that, the kickers didn't do us any favors this week either. Kaimi Fairbairn with 0 points. They clearly didn't kick anything. He had 0 offensive points. Only had was a safety for the whole game. Now the surprise of the weekend was Brandon Aubrey, who's typically money on the best performance list. He came in through with 1 point, and Eddie Pinheiro with 2 points. But he's been on our list several times this year, so I'm not surprised by him at all. But yeah, man, it was rough sledding. It was definitely rough sledding for these guys, and a lot of these guys are household names. I mean, Terry, Cooper Kupp, CJ, Aaron, Pacheco, Mixon, Schultz, Steelers defense. I mean, Aubrey. They picked a real bad time to play bad. That's all I can really say. Real bad time to play bad. So yeah. So if you had any of those guys, you might have been a runner-up this year. So hopefully you had a split pot in your league. So you got something. He's got something. One winner take all. Hopefully not. But yeah, those are your worst performance for the week, and we're sorry for them. We're sorry for them. That's all we can tell you. All right, so moving on. So we're going to give out our best awards of the year. We've been calculating the performances for the entirety of the season, weeks 1 through 17. So we're going to give out our best performers 1 through 5, and we're going to give out our worst performers 1 through 5, and who did well and who did bad. So you can kind of gauge how your fantasy draft went and how your fantasy league as a whole, your season went based upon these rankings. So to start off with the best performers, we're going to go through 2 through 5 for each position. So quarterbacks, we got the second guy is Josh Allen. Third is Joe Burrow. Fourth is Jaden Daniels. And fifth is Baker Mayfield. I know. I almost jinxed.
You just wanted that.
Sorry. Yeah, I'm sorry.
Stack bundle. You wanted to be able to say that.
I did. It was it's hard to quit it. It was good for me early in the season. He was doing good for me early this season. What can I say? But yeah. So we got Jaden Daniels at 4, and we got Baker Mayfield at 5. Now, I would argue that I can see the other 3, but Jaden Daniels being 4 is definitely tells you that he's had a hell of a season as a rookie.
Hell yeah.
By far the best rookie. He should be rookie of the year in my book. So we'll see how that goes. But I definitely like what they did with him and how well he's been performing in his rookie season. So I think the sky's the limit for that young man. For sure. And running backs, we got Derrick Henry at number 2. We got Jahmyr Gibbs, number 3, who DZ talked about earlier, his guy. Ironically enough, we know once we say that this usage was Jekyll and Hyde, like Bijan Robinson ended up being 4 this year. So that draft pick was, if that was a high one, paid off for most people. And then Josh Jacobs rounded out with a strong back end of the year performance at 5. So yeah, so we got Derrick Henry, Jahmyr Gibbs, Bijan Robinson, and Josh Jacobs at 2 through 5. So what did wide receivers look like for you, Alex? And did you pick any of these guys in any of your drafts?
Yeah, man. So wide receivers, number 2, we had Justin Jefferson, which, I did get him in a couple leagues because he, for some reason, dropped with the Sam Darnold attachment.
How about that?
I'm sure next year I won't be getting him if I'm picking later in the draft. But hey, we were taking it this year. But we have him at 2. Amon-Ra St. Brown at 3. Brian Thomas Jr. Playing with Trevor Lawrence, Mac Jones. Who cares? Brian Thomas Jr. at 4. And even though he is he was not technically the 5th fantasy scoring wide receiver, but we had to give Jackson Smith-Njigba some love because he finished right in line with CeeDee Lamb and Terry McLaurin, in points to be at that spot. And I felt, you got to give him a top dog shout out from where he got picked and kind of being behind DK and coming into his own a little bit with 1,000-yard season. So, have him at 5, got to give him a little shout out too. But yeah, I mean, I think, no one was shocked to see Justin Jefferson or St. Brown on the list, but Brian Thomas Jr. and Smith-Njigba, definitely overplayed where they were taken in drafts and no doubt won some leagues. I mean, hell, Brian Thomas Jr. was my 4th. We talked about it last week on who do I sit between DJ Moore, McConkey, and Brian Thomas Jr. And it was pretty nice to sit DJ Moore and watch Ladidi and BT go off.
Exactly.
So yeah. And then in terms of tight ends, we had George Kittle, number 2. DZ's boy, Trey McBride, 3rd fantasy tight end. Jonnu Smith, with that late season surge, really with no one else down there in Miami, ended up as tight end 4. Right. And Mark Andrews, who kind of had a fluctuating 2024 season, but came into the fold a little, more vintage Mark Andrews later in the year. He finished as tight end 5.
Indeed. Good stuff. So those are your 2 through 5 top dogs. So who is the top dog for the 2024 season? We got quarterbacks, Lamar Jackson at number 1. Yes, indeed. Oh yeah, got a guy. We got sound effects now.
That's right, baby.
That's it. I like it. Number 1 running back, Saquon Barkley. Indeed. With the Law and Order reverb. I like it. Now, I'm gonna pause this because I want to get your hot take on this. How do you feel about them sitting Saquon Barkley in Week 18 so he can't take the record?
I don't like it.
I don't like it either.
I saw it. I think it was like a little Twitter thread, but some guy kind of started the conversation. He's like, by deciding to do that, they're basically you're taking all the other accolades that like only thing that matters is championships. It's like, dude, no one, regardless of how many games are in the season, no one has broken that record
in 40 years.
40 years. Why wouldn't you let him go do that? That's why you signed him.
Exactly.
And I get the stigma because if he goes out there going for it, it gets hurt. Then they're like, why the hell did you play him?
Right.
But I mean, I think at least try. Don't just nix it.
Yeah, it's the Giants. It's the team who let him go.
It's all there. Yeah, it's the team that didn't want him.
Right.
He comes to your team, makes you guys, look amazing.
Yeah.
Carries your team at points in the season, and then you're like, hey, nah,
Right. Yeah, I don't like it at all. I think it's a bad move. And then don't get bounced in the first round of the playoffs. That's you really gonna look bad then.
Yeah, like what if he comes out and he's stale? Because
Yeah, right.
he probably won't. But
But still,
Still.
I mean, it's a chance.
no, yeah, I think you had to give him a chance to do it. I was a little.
I was bummed.
The football fan of me is definitely upset to see the news today that they're already
Right.
saying he's not playing.
That's
which,
what, yeah. I think
you
they
know.
cheated because the thing about it, you look back at your career. You said I could have had the single season rushing record that hadn't been broken in 40 years to go on my Hall of Fame resume. I would want that, me personally.
Yeah,
Super.
because that's the other thing. It's like, people want to try to put an asterisk on it, but it's like 40 years has happened and no one's gotten this close
I
to it.
mean, there's always going to be arguments to that. I think OJ broke the first record. He only had like 15 games or something like that, 14 games.
Yeah.
And then Eric breaks it in 16. So it was a controversy around that because he had 2 more games to do it. And then his record still for in 16 game season, his record still for 40 years. Now you want to add 1 more game and in a passing league, and he still breaks it. So I still think it's a feat, in my opinion. I don't put asterisks on it, but I really wish they would at least give him a half to try to break it. I mean, if he's 100 yards, I mean, it's the Giants. I mean, if that line can't get him 100 yards featuring him in the first half of the game, well, but I will at least try. That's just me. But yes, but going back to the award, Jamar Chase, the number 1 wide receiver of all fantasy football this year. Let him know. And then we got Brock Bowers, another rookie. I think that who we got? Jaden Daniels, Brian Thomas, and Brock Bowers all out of that rookie class as top performers this year. So that's awesome, man. Yeah. That is awesome, man. So yeah, shout out to them, man. Give them a quick round of applause. So if you drafted any of those guys in 1 through 5, man, I think you did pretty well. You should be hoisting a trophy, putting on a ring, and counting some cash because you did pretty well for yourself. Now, as always, we can't do the good and not do the bad as well. So we're gonna give out our worst performance of the year, guys that just frustrated you and pissed you off all year long. So for starters, in that regard, we got the newly the newly crowned list of top donkeys because they play like an ass all season. So I should have got that soundbite too. But yes, the top donkeys of the 2024 season. Coming in number 2 quarterbacks, we got Daniel Jones, who's now not even on the Giants anymore. Kirk Cousins, who's now benched on the Falcons. Aaron Rodgers, who said he might finally play his last game, thank God, after this Week 18 matchup. And then, ironically enough, you have to call it a sophomore slump at this point because C.J. Stroud's on the list at 5.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, C.J. Stroud with a sophomore slump of a season at number 5. He struggled all year. So yes, and somebody that's dead to me for running backs, Travis Etienne. I think I would if we're gonna have a segment saying I would never draft him again. Travis Etienne will be in my top of my list. I'm never drafting Travis Etienne again. I'm not doing it. Zamir White at number 3. He was terrible all year for the Raiders. Yeah, right. Him. Right.
I drafted him in this league, so in our league.
Oh yeah. I'm sorry.
Yeah. I bought into the Zamir White hype a little bit. So.
Yeah, it didn't work out for nobody apparently because he was third in the list as being terrible all year. Yes, and then Kenneth Walker at 4, and I think injuries and the handcuff that is Zach Charbonnet really ruined his season. And DeAndre Swift, who I guess you go from night and day from the Eagles line to the Chicago line, and you play like complete dog water.
Fleeced him.
Yeah, fleecing everybody, drafting him, and he were in the top 15 picks. Yeah, he was bad all year, number 5. So yeah, so those are your bad quarterbacks, your bad running backs. Who are the bad wide receivers and tight ends, Alex?
Yeah, man. Number 2 on this list, who we kind of already talked about a little earlier in the show. Cooper Kupp, given just the kind of the, I don't want to call it drastic fall off, but the fall off he had this year. Michael Pittman Jr., number 3. Keenan Allen, who may not have, a lot of people might not have been overly high on, but was supposed to be in a high-flying Chicago offense. And he didn't give you much. And then, Marvin Harrison Jr., who I know you and I both talked about, Coach, early on in our pre-draft stuff. I'm staying away from him because, where you had to draft him was, I didn't think, going to correlate with getting that type of points back, for that draft position. And clearly with him number 5 on the list, knowing he was, arguably the first or second wide receiver taken in second rounds of drafts, no bueno.
Oh,
No
man,
bueno.
at all.
And then, down to the tight ends, Dalton Kincaid, who I think a lot of people were buying in, would have
I drafted.
a nice sophomore, bump up in targets and involvement. That kind of fell flat on its face pretty early.
Yep.
He comes in at number 2. Dalton Schultz with Houston at number 3. Cole Kmet, who again, was supposed to be in this electric Caleb Williams offense. He comes in at 4. And even though he finished pretty high in terms of fantasy scoring, Laporta did not, I don't think meet up with where people were taking him at the first tight end in drafts. And,
They were.
I think he finished total. Let's see. I'll preface, this. He was tight end 5 overall, but he just had there was weeks where he lost you games.
He did.
Not giving you the consistency that you got last year from him.
Yeah, well, I got him at 7 on half PVR. So yeah.
So and then I know I put this in making my list. I tried to stay away from guys that had injuries. You don't want to kick a donkey while they're down. But I think we have to at least honorably mention old CMC, who was the consensus number 1 pick and gave, fantasy owners 2-3 weeks of solid hope that he give you any sort of points. and never really did. So,
yeah,
like I said, he was injured and people knew that going into it, but 49ers, damn them, kind of downplayed it at the start. And,
I would be real. Yet again, another nugget I dropped. I said that the injury that they were talking about was way worse than they were alluding to.
You did.
I said that. And I said, if I were you, I would stay. I told anybody that asked, I would stay away from him. And I was right on that, because it would the simple fact that he was going to come back with those injuries that weren't, they were very high risk of re-injuring or injuring something else. Because typically when you have lower leg injuries, if you don't injure the same part again, you overcompensate and injure something else.
Yeah.
Is what he ended up doing. So yeah, I would say, I told people to stay far away from Christian McCaffrey this year. And if you drafted him early, knowing he wasn't playing right away, then a lot of people told me that their season didn't go well at all. So yeah, I think that was the kind of the microcosm of your season by drafting him early. It didn't go well. So yeah, we'll get you right for next season though. That's all I can promise you. We'll get you right for next season. Indeed. But yes, honorable mention definitely Christian McCaffrey. So those are your 2 through 5 top donkeys. So Alex, bring us home with the top donkeys of the fantasy football season.
And this one pains me because a lot of these effing donkeys were on my teams. So, I don't think this is a shock to anyone, especially the preseason hype that Anthony Richardson was getting. Just total donkey year for him. He definitely top donkey at QB. The man sat out because he was tired in a game. Right. That's not the epitome of just being a donkey. I don't know what is.
Yeah.
So I'm staying away from any Anthony Richardson hype from this point forward, unless I'm playing Madden, and injuries are off.
There you go.
And fatigue, I guess, at this point too. But I don't think much of a shock there, and I bet we'd be hard pressed to find any fantasy playoff team that had Anthony Richardson
at all
as the guy they put all their eggs in the basket on at QB.
Right.
Another one that I don't think is a surprise to anyone. Top donkey at running back is definitely Breece Hall. He was consensus top 3 pick in fantasy drafts this year, or at least top 5, depending on if you were more on the Bijan or Breece Hall train. And did absolutely nothing to live up to that hype. So, point proven. I took Breece Hall in this very show's league, and look where I was.
Right.
So, I don't think we got to go much further on that, but just a total. Jets overall total disappointment. But at least last year, Breece was the only glimmer of hope, and we didn't even get that. This year.
Yeah, I think the whole Jets team should change the name to the New York Donkeys, but that's just me.
Yeah, hey. They might sell more tickets. Who knows?
They might.
And then top donkey at wide receiver. He's been on our naughty list too many times to count.
Too many.
Deebo Samuel Sr.
Yes.
just total fall off. I mean, 49ers as a whole, kind of like the Jets, pretty fall off all around. But Debo, I mean, leading the team in drops, having games where he dropped big touchdowns. Just not playing good, man. Just not giving you that return on investment with where I know he went in drafts. So,
Right.
That definitely warrants being 2024's top donkey. And
Indeed.
then rounded out the man who just is the epitome of being a donkey, Kyle Pitts. I'm totally done buying any offseason hype. I'm done with this man unless he ends up in Kansas City. And even then, I don't know that I'd have much faith in him.
It's questionable, buddy.
And, the other personal vendetta I have now, I told you I lost my dynasty matchup 112 to 110. I did not play Kyle Pitts, who I traded my second round pick for in the offseason. And he finally does something with 12 points,
What faith did you have to play him?
I know, but it's just like that's just the final kick in the nuts from the donkey, dude. But yeah,
Right.
I got too close to the rear end. I guess he gave me that little step off.
Right.
But yeah, Kyle Pitts, man. I know a lot of people been hyped on this guy since he got in the league. It only grew with the big Kirko coming to town, and you got absolutely nothing back from it. He finished tight end 14 on the year.
There you go.
Just given where I know he was going in drafts, just bad.
Bad altogether. So yes. So Anthony Richardson, Breece Hall, Debo Samuels, and Kyle Pitts, all our top performers or worst performers of the year. So yeah, if you drafted any of those guys, to much Alice's point, it didn't go well. It didn't go well. So yes, we'll pray for your fantasy luck going forward. That's all we can really say. But yeah, so those are our top dogs and those are our top donkeys, man. And I think that people that had success were on the top performance list if you drafted them, and if you didn't have success, the worst performance guys you picked up, and it just
your team.
It's just the ebbs and flows of fantasy football, man. But that's what we're here for. That's what we're here for. We let you know. We drop nuggets, we drop jewels, we drop gems to tell you who to stay away from and who to pick up. And I like to believe that we got a pretty good track record, pretty good hit rate on what we believe is going to go well. And guys have had success. Like I said, DZ listens to us, like you said, and he gleaned a lot of our ideas from what he did in our league, and he won the whole thing. So hey, I think we got a pretty good thing going here. So we'll see how things go down the road. But that's going to do it for our show this week. We're going to always take questions if anybody's in the chat that has any glaring questions about future projections, about their Week 18 matchups. If you have one, anything of those natures, please let us know. We'll hold a little bit for that. As always, we're available even in the off season on Twitter and Instagram at LightningFastFF, all one word, LightningFastFF. And lightningfastff@gmail.com is our email address. So if you have any questions about Dynasty League, projections, draft, trades, free agency, all those things will be available to answer for you in short order. We'll get that back to you as soon as we can. And then as the all-season progresses, we're going to probably do some highlight shows for Dynasty Leagues, I'm sure, Alex, and we're probably going to do some content when free agency pops off and then when the draft goes through. And we'll probably drop a few shorts here and there about some projections of guys that kind of watch out for early on, little early bird specials. And then as we get closer towards the season drop and the schedule coming out, we'll start doing regular content in regards to what the fantasy football projections and who you want to draft get into before we get into our season. So we'll be here. We're not going anywhere. We'll be available.
I'm here.
We're here. We're locked in. So, Alex will be joining me more regularly on the Lightning, the Lockdown Divas Sports Network. So we're going to be there dropping gems as well. We're going to get that going next week. So, like I said, we're around. We're here. And we, if you guys need any advice in any aspect of the NFL or fantasy football, please let us know. But yeah, man. So that's going to do it for this week and this season, man. We hope everybody had a great one. Again, shouts out to DZ for winning our inaugural league, and we're going to do it again next year, season 2. And season 3 of the Power will be back as always at the beginning of the preseason of NFL. And we'll get things rolling with our content in the offseason as well. So as always, man, we appreciate everybody's support, the love,
yes,
all the things y'all have been holding us down with all throughout the season. We appreciate that. We appreciate all our avid listeners and all the people that have been supporting the pod. And like I said, if you can drop a subscription on to the Lightning Fast FF Podcast Network, please do so. We're going to be exclusively shooting over there from here on out. The Lockdown Diva Sports Network will be separate from the Lightning Fast Fantasy Football Podcast going forward. So make sure you catch us on there. We'll be advertising that on Instagram and Twitter. We'll put all that out, but we just want to drop a line here as we get the show wrapped up. But yeah, man. As always, man, you know, that's your guy, AG. The real AG. We call him Real AG because his picks are all good. He's always available. I'm always available as Coach Defense. And like I said, man, you know, we gotta have a great season, great off season. And when things kick back up, we'll be right back here dropping knowledge. All right, Alex, you got any final words for the clan, for the mob, for the Goon Squad before we get out of here?
Man, not much other than just appreciate everyone tuning in. Appreciate you, Coach, for all the work you've done off camera, getting this show set up and week in and week out. Just looking forward for next year, man.
Yeah, it's gonna be a good one. It's gonna be a good one. On up with from here. We had a good season 1. We had a better 2, and I think season 3 will be even bigger than that. So I'm looking forward to doing it, and I can't wait to get started. All right, man. So boom, as always, man. Like I said, we're here. All our social medias are listed here. So reach out to us. Let us know what you're thinking. If you have any things you want to add to the pod, the suggestion box is open. And like I said, we'll be back in the off season to get things rolling once again. All right, man. So in the meantime, in between time, that is the real AG, Alex Givens. I am Coach Defense. Until next season, we'll see you when we see you. Step up and lock it down.